Maybe.
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Damn Podcast. It's a new year, a new roster, and Spencer Newell's back. I'm back. Davis and Kaz would be here, but Kaz is studying abroad this semester. Davis has class. So you guys get the two of us to talk about all the changes going on with Oregon State. Spencer, Happy New Year. How are you?
I'm doing great. Happy New Year.
It's been a lot. The past couple of weeks have been busy. You've been busy. I'm excited to talk with you. You've talked to a couple of these young men. You've been doing some great catch-ups on players. I know you have a catch-up coming up. You had Dax Whitney yesterday, which was amazing. If you have not been to Beaver Blitz to read the catch-up with Dax Whitney, go, because baseball season is less than a month away. So lots of good stuff at Beaver Blitz right now. But this podcast is going to be pretty much devoted to football because there's a lot since I think the last time we spoke was right after Coach Shepard was hired. So a lot to talk about. New year, new look Beavers. We're going to talk about the coaching staff who's been assembled, what that looks like. We're going to talk incoming transfers, who the Beavers have. I think right now we're at 20 incoming transfers, 35 outgoing. Not really going to talk too much about the outgoing because we have a lot of new guys to talk about. And then I took time and I put together a draft of the roster where it stands right now. Right now, we're at 101 players. They can carry 105. So pretty much this is a full roster as of right now before spring ball starts. So we're going to talk about that. Have some damn questions. Going to really dive through that roster, though, kind of talk about who's here, who stayed, and where, what Spencer likes, what areas he thinks might need some work, and what he's excited about. But let's dive in and talk coaching staff, because when we talked last, we were kind of riding up the high of the Coach Shepard introductory press conference. I know I was live from the press box up at Reser Stadium. We had Spencer, Kaz, Davis. Spencer, there was a lot of excitement and buzz when Shepard was hired. What do you think of this new staff now that he has assembled in a month's time?
Well, I think it's interesting. At first, he brought on some exciting guys, right? And then we went through the two guys leaving, Guidry and Inoki. And then it was kind of like a little bit of a lull. But I think what really solidifies this whole coaching staff is bringing on McIntyre, because that was a home run hire. And I think he will bring so much, credibility, number one, but number two, he'll bring so much head coaching experience to the staff where Jamarcus perhaps might need that because he hasn't been a head coach yet. So when you look at the overall, the roster of coaches, this is exciting. I feel great about every single guy that's in Valley right now.
Yeah, no, we'll start with the offense. So he started his coaching staff with a Bama guy, with a guy who with Coach Shepard has coached with several stops. Mitch Dolan, local guy from Redmond, Oregon, coming in as the offensive coordinator, young, energetic, brings for all intents and purposes was really involved in the play calling for both Washington and Alabama. So brings offensive line coach Kirk Barron. I've heard nothing but great things about Coach Barron. Young, energetic, relates really well with the players. At tight end, he brings in Ryan Wallace from Louisville. Again, more of a seasoned coach, has been around, but will be a great addition then with the tight ends. Wide receiver goes and gets a familiar name for Beaver fans in state of Oregon with James Finley. Long time ago, James Finley was a recruit, committed to Oregon State, if you don't remember, didn't qualify academically, and then ended up at Oregon. That's where he played. So he's already hitting the recruiting trail. All these guys are. And then Lee Marks comes in from Memphis as running back coach. What are you most excited about the offensive group, Spencer?
It's part A and B for me. I think part A is Mitch Dolan, and his experience, like when you look at quarterback play over the last couple of years, the Beavs have left more to be desired, like on the field, right? Now we know, I mean, Malik's coming back. Then you got Braden, who's coming in. We can talk about him more later. But the fact that Dahlin had experience developing guys like Hayner, obviously Penix, Milrow, you got to feel good in the quarterback room right now about how the development is going to go. And then secondly, B, I would say I'm high on the wide receivers, especially the guys who came in as recruits and also from the portal. So a guy like Finley, I mean, he coached Torrey Horton, Colorado State, who was lethal. Always, I mean, when we played Colorado State, I think it was a couple years ago now. I mean, Torrey just ripped it up, and so to have Finley coaching our guys who are young and experienced, like I feel like there's a massive ceiling to that room. So yeah, I'm really excited about those two guys.
And then your head coach is arguably one of the best wide receiver coaches, in the country, as far as developing and coaching talent. So now let's move over to the defensive side. And I agree with you completely. So it was kind of gloom and doom for a while because, Coach Inoki Breckerfield, former Beaver, is on staff for like 2 weeks and then ends up leaving to go to Utah. I know people were really kind of broken up about it. I think there was a big pay raise that happened there to take him away. And then Coach Guidry came in as DC. Now, little backstory there. He had been identified as the DC target from the start. But he is a Southern guy, grandkids, wife are all Louisiana. Wife, I think, was kind of apprehensive about taking the job moving out west. So I think it was kind of a teetering act to begin with. And then the job at Memphis came open. I think it just probably made sense for the family dynamics to go back. But then, yeah, you go out, you get Mark Hagan, who has DC experience, D-line, extensive D-line coaching experience from Louisville. So he comes in as your new D-line coach to replace Inoki. And then to allude to what Spencer said earlier, Mike McIntyre, former head coach, Colorado and Colorado State. I mean, he's been a lot of places, comes in as your DC. It feels like what started off as a negative, maybe was a net gain. Do you think the Beavs maybe ended up okay or better?
I think they ended up better than when we started. And look, I know with Guidry and Inoki, like if we hadn't had the last 2 seasons happen, like Beaver fans were conditioned to bad things happening, right? And so when those 2 things happen, like I understand why people were like that's evidence that we're not doing a good job in things. But we stayed patient, and then again with Hagan and McIntyre, I think McIntyre is going to be so vital for the cohesiveness of this team, but especially the defense.
So yeah, you bring Mike McIntyre in as your DC safety coach. Co-DC is a young up and coming coach, Court Dennison. He's going to be coaching inside linebackers and is the co-DC. D-line coach Mark Hagan. Nickel coach is Dan Rowe from Louisville, and then cornerback special teams coach Ricky Broomfield. All these coaches, I've met Court. I have not met the rest of them. Very, very active on the recruiting trail already. What are you most excited about this group as far as the defensive coaches?
Everything that I've heard from sources all over the Northwest is Court Dennison is a stud. And so, Idaho guy, like, love that blue collar. Like, I really feel like he's going to be a great fit to help lead these guys. High
energy, like I said, young up and comer. There's a lot to be excited about. And then you bring in kind of the support staff. I did not note these, but you have Aaron Hodges as the GM. He's making waves, just with the recruiting side. Definitely, it's a new world with the NIL, and it's been a new world for a while, but really dialing it back, taking the emotional side out of, oh my gosh, this guy, we love this guy, and really dialing back and looking at what kind of resources you have, how much money you have to allocate, and then making those business decisions. So yeah, Oregon State lost a few guys to the portal that they would have liked to have kept, but then you can't overspend your budget just to keep a guy. So I think that's a tough job. It's probably a very underrated job. And then they go out and get Mike Doctor from Michigan State. He was part of that stuff. So I can say, and you guys, if you watch the pod long enough, you know that Michael Doctor is probably, well, he's up there with James Rogers as two of my most favorite players that I've ever covered at Oregon State. So longtime Beaver, great, has coached or has been a recruiting. He comes back as the director of recruiting for Oregon State. So that was a big pickup just in the past week, I think, just giving you a little bit of the history, comes back. And while this staff is a very new look staff, it's nice to have a little bit of a tie into the past as well. So Alexis Cerna is also still on staff. So it gives you a little kind of that bridge to the past. So excited about that. Now let's talk some transfers, because the past 3 weeks have been nuts. And in fact, so a lot of you guys know in the lodge that if I go on vacation, things get crazy, like to the point that it's gotten to be like a joke. So I have taken this trip for the past like 4 or 5 years with a group of friends, couples trip to Mexico. Something always happens. This year it was no different. I am on a plane, like on the tarmac at Portland, and Braden Atkinson, the quarterback, announces his commitment. So I had a whole bunch of things pre-written, but I didn't have that. Spencer texts me. I'm like, can you write a quick story? That's how the trip started. It was a little nuts. I worked a couple days. Spencer, you were invaluable. So thank you for, it's kind of all hands on deck. But first transfer portal that was that week, what were your thoughts? Just kind of watching it, kind of being in the trenches. What went through your head watching the transfer portal that first week, especially?
Well, the first week was hard, right? And we had guys start coming in, but they were from smaller schools. So there wasn't a lot to like get really excited about, like from hey, this guy's transferring in from XYZ Big 12 school, right? But then Braden Atkinson signed up, and then Bubba Hampton came, and then Aaron Butler made it official. So those guys, and also like I love this kid Carter Guillaume who on the
Yeah.
offensive line. Like the other two I had down were Ish Finlater, I think that's how you pronounce his name, and Jarrell Comer. Like the more I dive into these guys, they're legit and they can play. And you put them with a coach like Jamarcus Shepard and his energy, like we have a good class. I think, it's no secret that I'm a huge Billy Bean fan from the Oakland Athletics and like the Moneyball thing. And I feel like we can go into this more later if we need to, but like I feel like the Moneyball approach right now and the analytics approach, look, Kurt Signetti, it can't be overstated enough. Like he gave hope to every single college football program in the country on Monday night. And so now knowing that we've got the right guys in place and we're taking that analytical approach, getting those guys, the diamonds in the rough, I don't know. I think I'm very, very excited with how this could shape up.
Yeah, it's super interesting because so I'm gonna contrast a little bit to the last staff. Now they were big in going after guys that maybe were former 4 stars, 5 stars, 4 stars, I guess I should say, at Big 12, Big 10 schools that had not proven they hadn't played. So they go out and get a Darius Clemens. They go out and find some of these guys that were highly ranked, Jabari Johnson, that hadn't been proven. That was their kind of methodology. Didn't pan out maybe like they had hoped. This staff, and I'll agree. I mean, the first, you're getting these guys and you're like, I've never heard of what school is this? Like, huh? What? Like doing my research on some of these players. Then you start reading into them and you're like, okay, well, their stats are pretty good. You start watching some film, you start watching a little bit and you're like, okay, this is a totally different approach. They're going after guys that have actually produced. They might've been at a lower level. Kurt Signetti has like ruined everything for everybody because now all ADs, all even NFL level guys, they're going to expect you win early. Like you don't need, I mean, Indiana, Spencer, I was watching that game on flight home from Mexico, and that game, I don't think I truly grasp how bad Indiana has been. Like way worse than Oregon State has been, like historically. I saw a stat. They had won 6 bowl games, 3 of which had been this year. Like historically bad, and Signetti just turned that around. And yes, they have money to do it, and I would say they have more money now than they did. But Signetti even said, we didn't build this with some huge roster. Looking at the last staff, they tried the analytics too, but it was more like measurables. They were really into height, weight, arm, wingspan, hand speed, agility. And not to say that's not important, but this staff really seems to be focusing on guys that have produced, on the football field, even at a lower level. So it's an interesting take. It is a little Moneyball. And, you talk to Hodges, the GM for Oregon State, and it is Moneyball. They have a very limited budget in trying to piece it because you're trying to be somewhat, disperse it evenly without breaking a locker room because you gave one guy way more. So it's a fine line. Let's talk about some of these guys. I put down a couple too that I'm excited about. I think we have to start with Braden Atkinson, quarterback coming in from Mercer. As a true freshman, threw for 3,600 yards, huge numbers, very vertical. He's a vertical downfield passer. What are your thoughts on him?
I love it. And I also love that he was a Jerry Rice Award winner. That's a big deal. But I also love that he's bringing in one of his top targets at Mercer. And I always get these guys confused because there were so many.
It's Adonis McDaniel.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I like, come on, let's go. I think it's genius. He's got some massive numbers, and now you bring in a guy like Mitch Dahlen, who has developed the guys he's developed. That could be a high ceiling.
Yeah. Well, and then you look at we're going to talk about the roster, but just to see what this quarterback room can do, Malik Murphy's back. And I know Beaver fans were not impressed last year, but I want to see Malik under a new coaching staff, new receivers, new O-line, a fresh look. I'm excited for that battle because I really do think it's going to be a Braden Atkinson, Malik Murphy kind of battle heading in. But other offensive players that I think, excuse me, people should be pretty excited about. And I put wide receivers, all of them. Oregon State lost a huge chunk of wide receivers, a ginormous chunk. But I would argue that they weren't super, super productive. So I don't necessarily see this as a bad thing. And then you go through this list. So right now on campus, not only do you have Sinai Thomas, Jamison Powell, Jesse Legree on campus, 3 signees, true freshmen. You have the transfers. I'm going to just go through this list real quick. Aaron Butler, Aaron Bubba Hampton, Adonis McDaniel, and Xavier Nolan. This is the one area I really do think, looking at who they brought in, I say wide receivers has completely elevated their depth and talent. What are your thoughts there, Spencer?
The transfers, yes, but I don't think the new guys are getting enough attention. Like Sinai and JMO are lethal, and they're only going to get better. They're buddies now. I mean, they work hard together. You also pair Jesse Legree in there, who is a speedster from Baltimore. He's got like a 4.35 clock time 40. I mean, these guys are athletes and they're studs. So I feel like this room could really develop into something special. And again, we can't overstate it enough. Jamarcus Shepard is the head coach, and look who he's developed. So I love this wide receiver room and the potential it has. Yeah,
it's this room, like I said, I think is elevated. And then, then we'll go back to it, but you keep a Malachi Durant, Eddie Freoff, there's some pieces there too to grow off of as well. I also put in AJ Newberry, recent commit. He is a transfer from Vandy. He actually committed a week ago, just announced it a couple days ago. He will be in for spring ball, the start of spring quarter. So he is not there yet, but just a depth piece. Oregon State did lose a couple guys to the portal. I think another piece of the transfer portal that got lost of incoming is the tight ends. I love the pickups of Eric Olson and DeCorian Temple. Both, I think DeCorian DC is more your blocking tight end, whereas Eric Olson is going to be that receiving threat. But he put up crazy numbers. Let me pull up his numbers. But talk to me a little bit about your thoughts on that tight end room, another room that I think actually elevated themselves.
Well, I think the mystery of Jackson Bowers is kind of exciting because he came in here he was a 4-star out of BYU, right? Yeah. So I think and Cooper Jensen, we saw a bit of him. but I love the guy that no one talks about is the kid from Crane is Cody Siegner. Like this guy, that guy is just massive. So you looked at him adding Landon Clark even and along with Temple and Olson, like
Yeah.
there is depth and there's size here, and it opens up a lot on the offense that you can do.
Yeah, so I just pulled up. So Eric Olson was at Utah Tech for the past 3 year or 4 years, redshirted his first year. But this past season, he had 52 receptions for 583 yards. So gives you that bigger body target. So I think with those guys already on the roster, that room definitely I think is going to be one to watch. And then I look at I offensive line not good this past year. I'm excited to see, you already mentioned Carter, Guillaume, Quan Johnson, and Tico Schultz are two guys I'm really excited to see. Quan Johnson is a big tackle. He played every snap at left tackle, actually. Um, his stats, like if you look at PFF, aren't great, but just a big body that knows left tackle position. And Tico Schultz played at Bethune-Cookman from Miami Central, which is one of the top powerhouse high schools in Miami. Definitely a couple guys I'm pretty excited about. And then Carter Guillaume is just that interior mauler. I've asked a couple people inside Valley, and they said that both of them said mauler. So definitely a guy to look out for. Thoughts on those guys? Anybody else on the O-line that I'm missing?
Yeah, I mean, I got to meet Peter Lange a few weeks ago. I'm 6'1", and this kid was towering over me. He's the nicest kid you'll ever meet. Sweet kid. Just did a backstory on him. His brother Michael is also coming, and it has been their dream as brothers to play together on the same O-line. And Peter came from Arizona, so like you have those two young guys who are going to only develop from here, and then you combine again. I'll go back to Tico Schultz is definitely interesting too, but Cardi Guillaume, like if he's the centerpiece, and we haven't even mentioned the guys that are coming back from
Yeah.
last year. I mean, we have depth now, which is not something that reliable depth, which isn't something we've seen in a while,
Yeah.
or potentially.
Yeah, but Lange is going to be. I mean, he's a big kid. Little backstory, and Spencer did a great backstory. So he played a year, I believe, at Mater Dei down in SoCal.
Yep.
Ended up back up in the Bay Area, where he went to Bishop or Riordan where Sinai Thomas went. So Michael is a teammate of Sinai's. So great little connection there. Every single person I have connections down at Mater Dei, and every person is like, oh, Peter Lange is like the nicest kid around. There was some qualifying issues, so he did not get into Arizona. So I think there's some work there. I think, getting him back in shape and game shape, getting him, ready for the season. He's got some work ahead. He's a big dude, but goodness, I can't wait to meet him, Spencer, because you said he's great. I mean, every single person I've ever, you mentioned his name, and people that know him, they light up and they're like, Peter Lange is the nicest, gentle giant you've ever met. So excited about him. Defense, there's a couple guys that I highlighted. I'm sure you have a couple. You already mentioned Ishmael Finlater, D-line. I'm excited about him. Came in from Duquesne. I'm not saying it right. See, this is one of those schools I was like, Duquesne. Yeah, it's a basketball school. I always thought of it as a basketball school. Gerald Comer, edge rusher. This is an area I think Oregon State might be thin, is D-line and edge rush. So I'm excited to see Gerald. He'll come in the spring as well. He's a JUCO transfer. Also super excited about Dylan Lane, inside linebacker, coming in. He's a Lake Oswego kid, played for Court Denison at Idaho. So he knows, smart kid, knows the defense that Denison wants to run and that the Beavers will run. So great leader there. I love the depth at inside linebacker too. There's some great, pieces there. And then Isaiah Huey, cornerback, coming in, or is already in school. There's some playmakers there. How about you? Who stood out on defense that you want to highlight?
I would say definitely Ish and Jarrell, but like and then everyone you mentioned, but I think the key to this is that you have Takari Hickle coming back, who came on pretty strong late in the season, and you've got the centerpiece in Aiden Sullivan. Yeah, we lost Dexter Foster and guys like that, and also Rajon Davis is coming back too. So you have like this good core group of guys from last year and all these new guys who have talent, I think this again, once again, this room will be elevated, especially, with Rajon and Aiden's presence.
Yeah, Rajon and Aiden Sullivan, I think, are your capstone pieces there. Both of those guys are just great leaders. I mean, Aiden was just a beast toward the end of last season. So you get those guys back. I agree with you. Takari Hickel is huge coming back because they did lose some guys. And then you look at the defensive backside. I love that Trey Glasper's back. He did take some lumps this season, but he also played pretty well at times. And if there's one position that guys really make a jump from year 1 to year 2, it's corner or DB. So excited to see him take that next step. And then, size back. So there's some guys there. Kai Wheaton is actually on campus as well. Cornerback came in early. So there's another early enrollee. And then one of Oregon State's Achilles heels this past season was long snapping. They picked up 2 long snappers in the portal with Tug Sanford and Jonathan Zarut, 2 guys coming in. And then they also brought in a kicker in Jaden O. So definitely they're not overlooking the special teams unit. I would say it can't get any worse, but I've learned you don't say that because early in the season when I said it can't get worse and we saw what happened. So let's move forward a little bit now. And in the lodge, I posted this. It is a kind of a breakdown by position of who's coming back. Rosters have kind of changed. It used to be 85 scholarships and you could have 20 walk-ons. Now there's kind of no differentiation. You can carry 105 players across the board. So I am basing this off just a 105 person roster, did not break it out by quote walk-on or scholarship. Numbers actually look pretty good. So if you're thinking that Oregon State's going to add a bunch of guys next week, it's not going to happen. They are at 101 by my calculation right now. Quarterback, you've got 4. Let's talk quarterback. We'll break down this roster. This is one of the damn questions. So I think it's good that we kind of talk about it. We got Malik Murphy, who is on campus, Braden Atkinson and Brady Jones, 2 transfers that are on campus, and then Isaiah Arizia, and I'm saying that wrong, I know. Ariaza. We're going to try Ariaza. He will be signing in February, so he will be coming in this summer. Talk to me. Are you thinking this is a Braden Malik thing? Are you thinking what are you thinking, Spencer?
I think Brady Jones is probably a lot underrated because he didn't. I mean, he hasn't had the stats lately, but he's been proven in the past. But I think look, we don't know. We weren't in the locker room when Malik was going through his stuff here. We know he's a good quarterback and that he can sling it. We saw hints of that. Which Houston, Fresno State, like he had good games. Look, I think he's probably got a chip on his shoulder to prove everyone wrong. I mean, he knows like this year will be what potentially scouts look at in the following year. Not to say that he's going to go that route, but he's got something to prove now. And you can bring in a kid like Braden Atkinson who develops under him and will be, Malik will tutor him in a way. Maybe, we don't know. I've got nothing but positive thoughts about this. I think it's a really good combination of a young kid and Malik, who's really the elder statesman of the team at this point.
Yeah, this is the thing. I was talking to a Beaver fan earlier today, and what I will say is I look at this roster and I can't tell you. I mean, I think this is the biggest question mark I've had going into a spring camp in a long, long time because this roster is so new. I have some ideas about guys, but until I actually see them, there's a lot of youth too. And so before you have to see them, what they look like, how they're moving around. So many question marks. Yeah, who knows? I mean, we're talking Malik, but Brady Jones might be the guy. I mean, we don't know till we actually see them, live in person. Running back. So, Oregon State, of course, loses Anthony Hankerson, graduates, going for the NFL. Salahadin Allah entered the portal, is signed with Iowa State, leaving Cornell Hatcher which, hey, that would have been probably my pick. If you're going to keep any of them, that would probably be who I'd go after. Corday Glass, Skylar Jackson, Jake Reichel. Those are your returners. And then you bring in AJ Newberry, coming in, like I said, in the spring term from Vandy. And then freshman Trey Garrison and Rocco De La Rosa. Pretty decent room. I mean, running backs, one that is pretty plug and play. I mean, Cornell. What do you think about Cornell leading that group?
I think it's his time to shine. And it's his time to step into the spotlight. I've gone back and forth with him over the last few months, and the kid is stoked to be back. So I'm really excited to see what he does without knowing, like, you got a Hankerson and Salah who are potentially above him. Like, he is the guy, and I feel like he's going to rise up. And then one of the guys, like, I don't think we talk about enough is Skylar Jackson. I mean, he's just kind of been waiting in the wings. I mean, his bloodline is pretty rich for running backs. I feel like, on paper, it might not be as deep of a room as what appeared last year. But I think at the end of the season, at the end of spring ball, I think we're going to find out a lot more, obviously, and look at that room in a different way.
Yeah. And Trey Garrison, you look at him, he's down in Louisiana at Edna Carr, one of the top programs in Louisiana. Big time pickup there. Cornell, though, is exciting. Just both of his uncles played at Oregon State. I know his one cousin or uncle, Armin, was there when I was there. So he was a star at Oregon State. So Oregon State runs in Cornell's blood, and he wants to be there. He wants to see them succeed, probably more than and even some others on the group. So be fun to watch. And I thought he had a great year when he was in the game. Wide receiver, we've talked a little bit about this, but let's look at the room. Eddie Frioff, Malachi Durant, Carson Boschma, and Jahay Drummer are back. I think I can talk a little bit. I mean, Malachi Durant, all the potential in the world, just waiting for his shot. Eddie Frioff, we've seen glimmers of him, and I think he's just so raw that I think it was just starting to click last year. Don't you think? When you were at one of those fall camp practices and it clicked, and just need to see it more consistent.
I think with Eddie, we kept hearing like he's got an SEC body, but he was so raw. And now you pair him with who we've got as coaches and mentors. I'm actually the most excited about Eddie out of anybody on the roster because of how much potential he's got. Yes, how much potential he's got, and the people who are teaching him. And for everything I've heard, he's like a sponge. He brings stuff in. He's new to this whole thing, and I don't know. I'm pretty excited with how he responds to this new culture and the new coaching staff.
And that's a good point. Like the culture is shifting as we're seeing this whole thing is shifting. He is a sponge. He's been drinking out of a fire hydrant. But what we kept hearing is he's willing to learn. And as a coach, you have to love that. You have to love the fact that, he might be a little raw, but you're going to be able to shape him however you want to shape him. And hopefully keep him from maybe developing some bad habits that some guys actually come in with. So just shape him. But he does have so much potential. And as we've talked about, this group of young guys, Oregon State lost a lot of guys. But you bring in guys, I mean, I'm so excited, as you talked about, for Jameson Powell, Sinai Thomas. Jesse Legree, we saw him play in one of the national spotlight games at the end of the year, and 2 touchdowns. One was a punt return that he lightning in a bottle. So very excited about that. And, Aaron Butler, one of the top recruits back a couple years ago, was coming in from Texas. Aaron Hampton, he goes by Bubba, right?
Yep.
Bubba Hampton.
Yep.
So he's coming in from Bama, following his coach. Adonis McDaniel, coming with his quarterback from Mercer. A lot of excitement there. If we're going to talk about any group, this is the room I'm most excited to see, because I think just the transformation is going to be huge. Now they're young, they're raw, but I'm excited to see what they can do. Tight end, we've talked about some of these guys. So you bring back Cooper Jensen, Cody Signer, Jackson Bowers, Tiandre Waverly, and then you bring in DeCorian Temple, Eric Olson, who are already on campus, and then Landon Clark comes in this summer as a true freshman. That's a pretty solid room. Cody Signer's another one. I think I want to see his body. I see what he's done, that's with a full year, but sky's the limit for that kid too.
I mean, he grew up in Crane. Like that's more mystique than you'd ever want out of a guy. And he is a big dude, and he's a rodeo
guy. He's tough. Yeah. And the stories, I mean, he would drive. I mean, it was like hours to go to Crane High School, and he would like live there for a week and then head back to the ranch to work. I mean, crazy
Love it.
toughness. So different toughness, but super excited to see that room again. I like the wide receivers. I think this room is elevated in talent. Some of the groups I'm still waiting to see. Offensive line is one I'm waiting waiting to see. There's a lot of young guys that we don't know much about. Sticking with the guys that we know. Okay, you got Josiah Timoteo, Nathan Elu, and Tyler Bolton as kind of the guys that have played. We've seen them play. Then you got some young guys: Jake Normoyle, Ben Hartman, Will Larkins, Jacob Anderson. Got some Noah Thomas. There's some guys there. We really have no idea. They were all very, very young, did not get any playing time. And then we bring in the Peter Lange, Tico Schultz, Carter Guillaume, and Quan Johnson. This is a room of 18. That's full. I mean, they pretty much are a full room, 18 players. I am worried about this group. I'm just going to say it. I'm just worried about the depth. I'm worried about how they come together. But this is going to be the fun of spring and fall camp. What are your thoughts on the O-line?
I think it starts and ends with Tyler Volton, much like it did with Van Wells last year. Like we saw what the O-line guys who transferred out got for paychecks. I mean, for the most part, right? My guess is Tyler would have gotten the same sort of paycheck from another school, but he decided to stay. And those guys who are transferring out, like, are they going to start in an SEC program or an ACE, wherever they went? I don't know, maybe. But like the fact that we retained Tyler, I feel like that he's a really good piece and a building block that we build around.
Yeah, I agree. You know, Elu's played several positions. I think they think that Timoteo has some versatility as well. So, you know, Normoyle, big time recruit out of the state of Oregon. So, yeah, there's pieces. And this is where I said a lot of it we don't know. We won't know until we see them in action. I would like to see them get tougher. I mean, the things that I've heard about the last year or so was a group that, you know, kind of gave up, you know, partway through the season. And it was, you know, the toughness, the mentality was not there. So, and easy to see. I mean, fans lost hope. I mean, everybody was kind of losing faith there. But this group, as we say every year, I think the season hinges on the success of the O&D line. So, but Shepard made a point of saying that in the opening press conference too, that he will be focused on the offensive and defensive line. So I've heard great things about Coach Barron. Excited to meet him because I've heard he relates really well with these guys and has a great plan. So that is where we're at. Like I said, 18 bodies, 18 players. So that room is, for all intents and purposes, full, unless they find some home run, maybe a center. But that group kind of concerns me a little bit till I see him in action. The other group that kind of concerns me is just the depth at defensive line. So I'm looking at the list. You got Taiji Hill, Jalen Hill, Tabita Pomea. Those guys all stopped playing time, you know, last year. And then, you know, Jesse Myers was a freshman who injured himself or was injured last year. Tiger Black, Luke Levengood, and then Nick Fisher, who I was super high on last year as a true freshman coming in. I was excited to see what he can do. Then they brought in Tyler Bailey from the portal, Daniel Matagi, and Ish Finlater. We both talked about how excited we are to see Ishmael. What are your thoughts on the defensive line?
I think one guy that we have not even spoken about is Jeff Eaton, the strength and conditioning guy. Like, I don't know if you've followed him on social media, but he, like, whenever he posts something, it makes me want to go, like, try and do my 1 rep max from high school on, you know, doing deadlifts and, like, squatting or whatever. I mean, the guy is so passionate. He's got a great track record of developing strength in these guys. And I feel like, especially for Taiji Hill and Tavita, you know, having a guy like that who's going to focus more on, like, and we don't know what happened last year, but knowing that Jeff is going to nail it with the strength training and that sort of thing, it really makes me excited to see the potential of these guys brought out.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, Spencer actually is a personal trainer as well. So when Spencer talks about watching the strength and conditioning coach, listen, because he knows what he's talking about. It's a really good point you make, Spencer, because that is, I think, maybe an undervalued maybe thought of of fans and the media, is just what these guys are doing in the weight room. And that goes the same with the offensive linemen. It goes with the defensive line, really any position on the field, is what kind of buy-in are they getting from that strength and conditioning coach? Are they all in? Are they working out hard every single workout, or are they taking reps off? Huge. And he's a motivator. If you haven't watched some of those videos coming out, he's definitely a motivator. I have heard some things about him too, that it's positive, that he meets with all the guys like once every week or two, sits down with their own individual plan, is meeting with them, finding out how they're doing, where they're at. So definitely not just kind of letting them go on their own. Edge, outside linebacker. We talked about Takari Hickle coming back. Huge. That was an area I was kind of sad to see, like a Shamar Michael go, or that Sakaya Saiz, a couple guys that I really thought were kind of scratching the surface of what they could do. Takari's back, and that's big. Tyree Blake, Logan Knapp, Will Haverland. Those are your returners. And then that's where you bring in then Gerald Comer. He'll be coming in the spring. He's a JUCO transfer. Spencer and I both super excited about him. And then 2 true freshmen coming in the summer, and Adel Dorr and Caleb Metzner. I heard through the grapevine, Caleb Metzner, he was kind of that last minute addition on signing day back in December, out of Alabama. I guess a big time program came to him trying to get him to flip, and he is dialed in and said, nope, I'm Oregon State. I'm this is where I'm going. So, and then Adel is like a 4th or 5th generation Oregon Stater. So big time guys coming in. It's just a matter, again, of how they come in. Takari's big though. I think he's fully healthy from that knee. He's ready to go. As Scott Stewart in the chat said, Jake Hedberg would be happy to see Takari coming back. Takari was Jake's guy from the get-go, watching some practices. So then we talk linebacker, and we've already kind of talked about this. I think this is maybe overlooked by a lot of people, but the return of Aiden Sullivan and Rajon Davis, as we talked about. You get Cord Shaw, Jeremy Goodman, Josiah Mawala, Clive Pond, Jeremiah Ioane. True freshman Jeremiah Brown is on campus. He's already enrolled early. And then you bring in Dylan Lane and Jabari Adobinen, another inside backer. So good group. I mean, I'm looking at that, and I off the top of my head, I'm thinking Aiden Sullivan, Rajon Davis, Dylan Lane are kind of your 3 core pieces, but then you get Jairese, Cord, Jabari. What are your thoughts on that group? That's really going to center your defense.
I think out of the defensive core, that's probably the room I'm most excited about. I do want to back up to one thing, because last year and the year before, it was an injury bug, right? And this again, and we don't know what they were doing for strength training, but like a good strength trainer will help not eliminate, but kind of minimize the injuries like that happen. Yeah, exactly. Sorry, it took me a little while to say that.
Yeah.
So I feel like with the, in all rooms really, hopefully Jeff will come in and like see some things that we were doing last year that may not have worked, and he'll fix them. Because the injuries that we saw over the last couple of years, it's just crazy, right?
Yeah, the non-contact soft tissue stuff. That's it's going to happen occasionally, but there was a lot. There were a lot of ACLs that were non-contact. So, but yeah, you're right. I mean,
I like this group.
Okay, yeah, I think, and that, I guess yes. I have some concern about the defensive line. If your middle backers are going to be strong, that helps matters. Okay, then you look at DBs. Decent group. I mean, a lot of names that you guys have heard of. Cornerback, like I said, Trey Glasper, TJ Crandall, he should be back from injury. Cy, David Madison, Noble Thomas. Exodus Ayers, I put a question mark by. He has been spotted with some, team. They did a team bonding going to a men's basketball game. He was spotted in pictures. So not sure of his status right now. Blake Thompson, Milan Clark, and then again, Kai Wheaton and Isaiah Hui, 2 newcomers. Kai is a true freshman, early enrollee, and then Isaiah is a transfer. Safeties, I'm going to lump them together because DBs, we have some nickels in there too. Tyrese Ivy back, that's big. Just a lot of experience. He can play basically all 3 positions. Tyjae Hopper, Harlem Howard, Zephan Walker, Sean Craig, Drake Vickers, and then 2 JUCO transfers, and RJ Witten and Kahanu Kalahiki coming in at safety. Solid room. Kind of a nice mix of old and new. Thoughts on those guys?
I mean, my initial thought, it's hard to see Skylar Thomas's name and not in there. It really is.
Yeah.
But this room, I like the room. I really like Kahanu Kalahiki. I started diving into him, and the more I kind of got into him, he's a tough guy. Maybe a little underrated and under the radar. But I really like him. I connected with him a little bit, and we brief chats and that sort of thing. But yeah, he's a guy I'm watching for sure.
Nice. So yeah, so all in all, then we'll do a quick, like I mentioned earlier, long snapper Jackson Robertson, then Tug Sanford and Jonathan Zarut, kicker Caleb Ojeda, Cameron Smith, Jaden O, and then punters are back in AJ Windsor, Max Walker. That's your 101. We just went through the whole thing. Look at that. People think we couldn't do it, and we did it. What are your areas of concern now that we've kind of gone through this group? What areas concern you?
Trenches. I mean, I think it would. I'm less concerned about the O-line and more concerned about the D-line, to be honest. Just to see, especially in the CFP, the roles that the defensive line played were just so huge, and that's like that in every good like football program, right? I would just love to not overtrain these guys, but just like see them really just rise above any expectations, because we haven't had like a good solid D-line in a bit. And this is what Oregon State has done in the past, so it's time.
It's been a minute since we've had a solid defensive line. Yeah, I had O-line, D-line, I said edge rush, and then safeties I had as a question mark. What areas do you feel improved over past years?
Wide receivers is probably number 1. Number 2, I would say quarterback. And number 3, oh man, I would say the tight ends, to be honest, just with the amount of size and depth and talent that they have.
Yeah, I had wide receiver and tight end for my 2. So,
yeah.
Okay, spring camp. I have not got official word on that. That was, I know, a question in the lodge about. We have not got any official word. I don't know if it's going to be open for media. I don't know when they're starting. I don't know when the spring game is. So stay tuned. We will get you that info as soon as we hear. But okay, it's spring ball, Spencer. You and I are standing there watching. Who are you looking forward to watching? Give me a name or 2.
Jameson Powell and Sinai Thomas.
Okay.
I love these kids. I got to know them a little bit, especially Sinai.
Yeah.
These kids are good kids. They're nice kids, and they're really talented. And I think Sinai's, to be honest, underrated. I cannot wait to see him go up, or see all of them go up against the guys like Trey Glasper and TJ Crandall. Jesse Legree told me, and when we did a backstory, I asked him who he's most excited to go against. And it took him 2 seconds to say Trey Glasper. So they're gunning for these guys, and they're ready to.
They're already, yeah. Because you spoke to him when he was like pretty brand new, right in the. So yeah.
I think he signed 4 days earlier.
Yeah. And he already knew he was. That'll be fun, and you're right. So quick little update. Skylar is playing in the Senior Bowl. He got an invite to the Senior Bowl, so that is huge. Just to help him gain exposure for the NFL. So Skylar Thomas. But yeah, Sinai's a good one, and it's just fun to have that Beaver family still in the mix. And yeah, if you're not reading the backstories that Spencer's doing, please do. I've kept them outside the paywall so that all Beaver fans can read them. They're so good, and it's Spencer's learning. What I love about covering recruits is that you start to know these young men, and then it just makes them that much more fun to cover through their college and then pro career. I mean, that's what's been fun watching the NFL now are the guys that are. I don't root for a team. I'm rooting for the former Beavers. So Spencer's learning how fun that part is. Recruiting. I just wanted to give a quick update on recruiting because it's been super active. I don't know if you guys are on Twitter, but my feed has basically been all Beaver logos for like a week now. It's just one after the other, people retweeting it, which is huge. It's big for just exposure. I mean, yeah, are these guys going to end up being Beavers? I would say, high school recruiting is really kind of, it's lost some of its luster with the whole portal and things. And I feel bad for that. I feel bad for the high school kids because they're the ones that are getting hurt by this whole transfer portal. But it's huge from an exposure standpoint. So it was funny. I was talking to Brandon Huffman, and we were talking about all these guys. And I'm like, these guys are like all the top guys in 2027. And he goes, yeah. He goes, and they're getting Beaver offers. I mean, are they going to be Beavers? We'll see. But it's still great exposure. And that's, it's constant, it's seeing that Beaver logo and you've seen the coaches out and about, and they're at all the high schools. So as of today, right before we went live, I looked up, and per 24/7, Oregon State's offered 172 players in the class of 2027. They range from, so Coach Shepard had actually said in his introductory press conference that they'd be focusing kind of on the West Coast footprint. But if you look at where the offers are going, number one state was California, then Texas, Mississippi, Utah, Florida, Washington, Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, and Oregon. So I did see Coach Broomfield is in Louisiana today. They were in Texas yesterday, several coaches. So they are going where the players are. They also did a blitz. If you were on social media, they did a full-on blitz of the Oregon high schools before they hit the road. So this was Coach Shepard. This was everyone going all over the state, meeting with high school coaches. That hasn't been done in a while. So I know one of the questions was feedback from high school coaching connections on that blitz. And I've spoken to several coaches who, just said it's huge just to make that connection. Yeah, Oregon, the state of Oregon doesn't have a ton of D1 talent, but that doesn't mean they don't have talent. It doesn't mean they don't have the guys that you're going to fill out your roster with. You're going to, bring in. It's huge. Spencer, I know you've talked to some people too. What are you hearing from coaches?
Well, the fact, like, from a marketing standpoint, it's great.
Yeah.
And while we may not get all the guys that we offer, this is why I love it, because it opens the pipeline of communication between these coaches now. And those coaches, if there's an underrated guy that no one's talking about, they're going to send him to Shep, and Shep's going to develop him. So it's like we're almost killing two birds with one stone. Like, we're setting ourselves up for the future and for next year. So I'm thrilled. And Beaver Fan has been asking for in-state, recruiting for the last 2 years, and we heard rumblings that it wasn't necessarily happening. I don't know if that's true or not, but like, this is what we've been looking for. This is what we have been asking for the last 2 years, and it's happening.
The energy is off the charts.
Yes.
So, and you make a good point. I mean, you look at like Folsom, the already built connections that Coach Shepard had with Folsom, which is one of the top programs in Northern California, is what helped land, Jamison Powell. Here's a young man who'd been committed to Ole Miss. The Lane Kiffin drama kind of starts up right before signing day. He decides to back off, but he gets, steered to Oregon State. Same with Jesse Legree. He didn't have any major offers and calls Shepard up and says, or Aaron, and says, hey, I've got this guy. He's a player. Those connections are huge. And just seeing the energy, it is an energy I have not seen on an Oregon State recruiting trail, maybe ever, at this level of just blast. Like I said, a lot of offers, a lot of 28 and 29. I've even seen a few kids with 2030, so freshmen out there saying that they're getting Beaver offers. Okay, long shot. But hey, it's still, as Spencer said, marketing, and it's getting the name out. It's building buzz. Definitely doesn't hurt things. Okay, got a couple of damn questions. So Black Bandit, I just answered that one that you had. You also wanted to know what kind of bonding exercises the coaches are doing. First of all, Coach Shepard, I believe, went out in the state of Oregon that first, couple days. I believe he's still in Corvallis now. So the rest of the staff is on the recruiting trail. He's still with the team in Corvallis. We saw a kickball. I don't know if you guys saw the kickball tournament they did, trying to, just getting that competitive juice going. All the coaches were out there, all the players. So they are doing, some team. I saw some dinners, position group dinners with their coaches. So they're kind of coming together. I think as things have kind of settled down a little bit now from the hiring and the trying to get things together, they're kind of settling in. Squeaky clean. Who do you think will be the starting QB this upcoming season? I have no idea. I am going to be flat out honest. I have no idea because I can make a case for every single one of them. Spencer, are you going to be bold and make a comment or a thought, or are you just going to take the chicken way like I did?
My gut's saying Malik, but
Okay.
I think Atkinson's going to be one of the more interesting guys to watch.
So that's just it. I think Jones and Atkinson, I don't know enough about either one. So we know that Malik can sling it, but let's see when the bullets are flying. Let's see what happens. Okay. Tight said, did this football recruiting class take the shape in a way you expected when Shepard was hired? What do you think, Spencer?
This exceeded expectations, to be honest. Like I'm blown away by what they've done and what they're doing. Again, it goes back to like what we just talked about, like the marketing, that sort of thing. I think Beaver recruiting from a public standpoint is back, and it gives Beaver fans a lot of hope, which is, let's be honest, that's what we need right now. We needed some hope, and I feel like we have it now.
Yeah, I agree. I think the hope is that I think it's been kind of chaotic for the past, month and a half, but that was to be expected. You have a coach that comes in immediately, has to hire a staff, has to, kind of get things, while also, you forget he was the first game or two, he was helping with Alabama too. So there was a lot kind of going on. And then this is a guy coming in that really didn't even have a clue of what he had. So he's trying to evaluate his current roster while guys are jumping in the portal without him having even a chance to really get to know them. It was a chaotic, I expect it to get better from here. But as far as the class, what would you like to see finish the 2026 class? I don't think there's a lot of room. So like I said earlier, right now I have it at 101. They have 4 spots, depending on if anybody else leaves or retires. If you can get a center, I think a true center would be a good pickup. D-line, I always would take, you always leave room. If you've been around Blitz for a while, remember Beaver Geek used to talk about jelly donuts. You always save room for a jelly donut. And that is that can't miss prospect because you're never too full to eat a jelly donut. That was Beaver Geek saying. So the jelly donut, if he pops up and that's a defensive tackle, you take him. You just make sure you have room. So those would be, like I said, center, D tackle. That would be my 2 that I would. Otherwise, the class is pretty full, and now it's like Spencer said, it's how can they strengthen and condition and get these guys ready? How can they build? This is the intangibles. This is your money ball too, of how you can build this roster, how you can shape a culture. Because I think in certain areas, maybe the past 2 years, there's been some talent, but the culture wasn't there. So now how do you take a group and build that culture? How do you get a group? Because it's amazing what you can do with a group of 18 to 20, 23-year-olds when they all get believing on the same page and they get fired up. So there's so many intangibles that we'll be watching over the next several months. Spencer, myself, Davis, Kaz. So we'll be reporting back to you guys. But Spencer, it's been good. We got through the whole roster. We got through all the recruits. What now? Baseball. We have like a minute. How excited are you for baseball?
I talked to Dax.
The Dax interview is a must read, by the way.
I for a couple weeks ago, just hearing about him talk about all the guys, Ethan, Eric Segura, but he mentioned this kid, Arthur Robles, as one of the scariest guys he's ever seen on the mound. He's got like his glove like right at eye level, kind of like Dave Stewart did in the 80s back with the A's.
Yeah.
This kid's just raw and nasty. So from a pitching perspective, he feels very, very good about their depth. And then he thinks the offense is just going to take care of itself. I mean, this kid, Mason Pike, is kind of like this dynamic, raw guy. Dax called him a special cat. I'm really excited to watch him develop. But
Baseball
yeah,
kicks off the
it's
13th down in Surprise.
against
I'm
Michigan.
actually, it's going to be fun. I'm calling JP actually right after we're done with this podcast to map out our coverage for baseball. So fun stuff ahead. I get to go to Surprise this year, Spencer.
Nice.
Going down to, I've never been to Surprise. We're going to go check out a couple games and
Good.
report
Good.
back. But
That's
Dax
awesome.
Whitney is a must read. The backstory, it's on Blitz right now. You talk about what great kids some of these guys are. Dax seems like an amazing kid.
Amazing kid. He is one of the more fun interviews I've ever done and also I have a background in baseball, not football and basketball, so it's easier to talk to him like from a just pure baseball standpoint.
It's awesome. It's a great read. So if you haven't done it, and you also have Tiara Bolden is on live right now. Catch up, right?
Yep. Couple girl like women's basketball is very exciting right now. Jenna Villa has come as a huge scoring threat, but Kennedy Schuler is absolutely playing out of her mind right now. She almost had a quadruple triple. I don't know. Just
Yeah.
I think that's right. I can't. I'm not a basketball guy. Well, maybe I am, but she's really exciting right now, and the women are clicking. I think the men have more to be like, they've got some stuff to prove on the table, but I mean, they're sticking together. They're not giving up. There's a lot of good kids on that team, and they're, forging forward to conference play. So I think there's some good stuff happening.
Yeah. And so stick with us. Spencer's got all the good backstories. So much going on right now. So we will be back in a week or two. We won't go this long as we've gone this hiatus, but Spencer and I'll be back. We'll get Davis next time, and join us again for another episode of the Damn Podcast.